Hey guys, thanks for joining me on another repair video. Today we're going to be replacing some press-in type wheel bearings on a 96 Volkswagen Jetta. It's our new project vehicle. Hopefully you saw my previous video and that will explain why we have another project vehicle. Yeah, so let's get started. Sorry if I'm sweating my ass off in this video, but it's hot, guys. Anyway, with that said, let's get started. Okay guys, so before we get started, I'm going to go ahead and show you what you're going to need for this job. So, to go ahead and get the tire off, I believe these are 17 millimeter. Yeah, so the actual lug nuts are 17 millimeters. You're going to need that 117 millimeter socket. Obviously, you're going to either use a breaker bar or an impact gun for that. You're going to need a 17 millimeter also for the back of the brake caliper bracket, or you can use a 13 millimeter. Just take off the caliper first. I'm going to go ahead and just take the whole bracket off, together with it. It's a good idea also to get some twine or some wire and hang up that brake caliper. Don't let it hang from the hose, of course. You're going to need a 30 millimeter socket for the axle nut. That's what I'm using. It's a great neck 30 millimeter socket. You can barely see the number there. 30 millimeters. Of course, I'm going to use my impact gun on that because I have one. And then I'm just using a standard 3/8 ratchet, and this is a flex head type. It's by Gear Wrench. But yeah. Such a little tire. Okay guys, and for the brake caliper bolts, those guys are a 13 millimeter. Ooh, can't even see that, can you? There's a 13 millimeter bolt here, 13 millimeter bolt there, or you can just take off the 17 millimeter bolt there and the one up here just to get the whole thing out of the way. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go ahead and just get the 17 millimeter bolts off of there, and then I'm going to go ahead and hang up that caliper. Okay guys, and now we're going to go ahead and remove this tie rod end nut at the bottom here. It's a 19 millimeter, like I said. Probably could have used some PB blaster. I'm going to thread it back on because I'm going to use that nut to get that tie rod end off, so I don't have to rip the boot trying to use a fucking tie rod end puller. So I'll go ahead and smack that guy a couple times and get that tie rod end loose. It's pretty hot. Okay guys, so I got that tie rod end off. Took me, actually right after I turned the camera off, I hit it one more time and it came off. So I went in and removed it, and then now we're going to go after these guys up here. You know what, I think actually I'm going to go down for the ball joint bolts and try and get those guys off. There's 3 of them with nuts on the other side. I don't know if I'm going to have to hold both sides or not. I already shot them with some PB blaster. Looks like I'm going to have to hold a wrench in there too. So I'm going to grab a 1/2 inch wrench. It looks like a 1/2 inch or 13 millimeter. Good Lord. time to get this guy over to the press. Okay guys, so just a little tip. I've got this on my shop press here. As you can see, we need to remove a C-clip. Now I know that this thing's going to be rusty as hell and it's going to be hard to get that C-clip out. So I am going to go ahead and just spray some PB Blaster all the way around this thing. Alright, on that side. And then I'm going to let that sit for a while, and I'm going to clean up this with a wire brush so it's easier to get it out. And then I'm going to press the center of the hub out after that. And once I've done that, then I'm going to flip it over and do the other side. Actually, I think there's only one C-clip and it's on this side because the other side probably just has a steel stopper or a cast iron stopper. So anyway, I'm going to let that PB Blaster sit for a while, and then I'm going to clean up the area and try and get that C-clip out. Okay guys, so I've let the PB Blaster kind of do its job for a while. I'm going to go ahead and remove this snap ring now. I don't know how well you guys can see it, but I'm trying to get some light on there because it's pretty dark in here so that you guys can see what I am doing. Trying to see if I can get this without using the straight ones, because the straight ones put a lot of stress on the snap ring pliers. So hoping I can get them with these. I'm going to have to use the straight ones instead actually. Okay guys, so I didn't realize that the camera batteries died. Sorry about that. So all I did was literally, excuse me, I got the snap ring out. I don't know if that was seen yet. Obviously I haven't edited the video. Anyway, so I got the snap ring out, which was a pain in the ass, even with the snap ring pliers. It was pretty awful. So, and then I took a punch, or not a punch, a hammer, and beat out the center hub. And then I flipped it over and beat out the bearing. I heated it up first actually with a torch. So now I'm just going to clean this guy up so that we can get our new bearing in, which I've had in the freezer for about 8 hours. So it's a good idea to do that. It does help. People, you know, always say their own opinion, but for me, putting them in the freezer has helped a lot. Okay guys, so here's our new bearing. Looks like it's a part number 510004. That's probably a universal part number. It'll probably work. It's a WB, which just means wheel bearing. 510004. It is a Moog bearing, so it is a good brand. So I'm going to go ahead and install this guy. Now I did have this in the freezer, so you don't want to drive the car immediately when you have had these in the freezer, because the grease gets really cold and you can prematurely destroy this bearing without realizing it. So just don't go nuts after you install this. Obviously probably by the time you get it all assembled, it should be fine, but just a precautionary measure. Sometimes you can wear those pretty quickly when they're cold because of the grease not flowing through because it's not warm. So just something to think about. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and soak this guy down with some silicone, as I said before. This will really help get the bearing in there, and our C-clip that was a pain in the ass to get out will go in a lot easier too. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take, where the hell did it go? I dropped my little press tool here. There it is, okay. So I've got this guy that fits in the bearing pretty good. So it's perfectly sized to press that bearing, and it doesn't go over the edge here where the black seal is. It just sits right in the center. So we're going to use that to press this guy in. So while it's still cold, while it's still cold, just want to set it in there. Now the way I like to start bearings is by tapping them in with a rubber mallet, because it helps seat them before you start pressing them so they're not crooked. And you can actually get the whole bearing in this way. I've done it, so it's just not recommended. Okay guys, so we got our new bearing in, and I've cleaned up the area where the C-clip needs to go in. I'll go ahead and reinstall it. Hopefully, yep, that happened again. Hopefully I can get it in there. Yeah. There we go. Looks like I got it in there. Okay. I'm just going to take my hammer and my punch, make sure that the C-clip is seated. There we go. Now it's fully seated in the channel. Okay guys, so we got our hub here. I'm going to go ahead and clean that up for a minute, and then I'm going to set the hub, or the knuckle, right on top of it, and just press the knuckle onto the hub. So I'm going to go ahead and clean this up, get some debris off of there. Let that dry. And I'm going to spray some silicone on there too, because it'll just help. It'll help get everything ready for our press here. I'm going to do it the same way I pressed the bearing. I'm just going to set this guy on there, and then take my little plate here that I have, set that right there, center it the best I can, and go ahead and press that in. And if it feels like it's binding on you, just stop. This is going on nice and easy. Check our clearance here. Yeah, that's almost flush there, so we want to go ahead and stop there. That's about where it was before I took the other bearing out. So that's exactly where we want to be here. Clean this stuff up. And that side's done. Now we just have to reassemble it. Okay guys, so this is our old bearing, and I just want to show you how loud it was just spinning it by hand. Just put my fingers in here. That was just off the car. It came out in one piece, surprisingly. You know how always the half comes out. But it looks like this was breached, the seal here. On one side it's like missing half of it and shit. So, but yeah, that's a telltale sign of a wheel bearing problem. Okay guys, and now the best part, we get to put everything back together. Alright guys, so it is morning now. I had to stop last night when I got the hub pressed in to the knuckle, because I tried to put it all back together, and the threads, or not the threads, I'm sorry, the splines on the hub and the back side are kind of flattened, I guess you could say, and I'm going to have to go over them with a file. So I don't know how well you guys are going to be able to see it, but yeah, you guys can't see that at all. It's not a huge deal, but the splines inside on the back side are kind of flattened, and it is my fault. I take full responsibility for that. That was my fault. I know what I did, and when I did it, it was when I was striking the hammer on my little bit to get the hub out, because I didn't want to press it, because it takes a while to set up the press to press that out when I can just hit it with a hammer 10-15 times and get it out. So that's what I did. I chose to do that. Don't do what I did, or find something that fits the center nicely, because I had something that was fitting inside like a spline did, and that's what damaged them. So now I have to use a file to go in there and fix the fucking mistake. So first I'm going to go here, because I've already tried to beat on this and I screwed these ones up too. So I'm going to go in here and clean these guys up wherever they need to be cleaned up. Now I have to use a triangle file. That's the only thing that'll fit in there. I had to run and get one, which is why I had to wait until this morning to finish, because I didn't have a triangle file and I needed one. So that is why I had to stop last night. Alright guys, after some battling for a while, I was able to get the spline axle back into the hub, which was like no fun at all. I mean, it was fucking awful. So, first things first guys, I'm going to anesthese pretty much everything I took off because nothing came off easy. Well, you don't need me anymore, so I'm sure you can figure out how to put a tire on your vehicle, or a wheel, perhaps. Thanks for joining me on this repair. I appreciate the support that I get, and we'll see you next time, guys. Like and comment and subscribe.